Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day today. Welcome back to the show, and in this video, I'm going to be ranking the theatrically released Superman movies. If you would like to place your ranking in the comments section below, I would love to see it. Obviously, Superman is a pretty influential character over the last 80 plus years. Without any further ado, let's get started with the ranking. So in last place is Justice League. This is just the theatrical cut. The reason I put this in last place is because it just doesn't work as a movie. The whole plot here is rushed. They bring Superman back to life in like 5 minutes. And the making of this movie was rushed as well. So the CGI, the green screen, all of that stuff, it just looks like a cartoon because they focused more on releasing it as fast as they could than actually making it a good movie. There are a lot of reshoots in here that were shot by a different director. So all in all, this movie is kind of a mess. And Superman himself doesn't really do anything memorable in this. Coming in at number 7 is Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. This is a movie that is all around just pretty dumb, but it is a little bit entertaining to watch, and it's only like an hour and a half, so it doesn't drag on too long. And it's still fun to see Christopher Reeve as Superman. But as I said, obviously the plot here is also kind of rushed. It really doesn't work. The logic here makes no sense. Nuclear Man is kind of just the most random villain. And it uses plot points from the previous Superman movies, like him losing his powers and that sort of deal. But it just rushes through them and just doesn't do it as good as the other movies did. Also, this came out 9 years after the first Superman movie. And this has the worst special effects in the whole series. They used the same shot of him with a green screen, and it just looks so bad. Coming in at number 6 is Superman 3. Pretty much the same reason as Superman 4. It's a dumb movie that's still a little bit entertaining to watch. Although I feel like in this case, the execution wasn't so bad. It was just a bad idea. But really, the storytelling is pretty good until you get to the final battle. As I said, it's just a weird idea for a movie. It's essentially a comedy. Number 5 is Superman Returns. I find this to be the most underwhelming and disappointing on this list. First of all, it drags on too long. It's like 2.5 hours. And it's in the same continuity as the quadrilogy, I guess you would say, except I think it ignores the third and fourth movie. But you can just tell that the tone is completely different. And the fact that Superman has a son in this movie couldn't really be any more underwhelming. There's no shortage of good ideas. I just feel like the execution just wasn't there. The one thing I do think that is great about this movie, though, is Lex Luthor. I thought they did a pretty good job of kind of making it a 21st century version of the Lex Luthor that we knew from the other film series. Coming in at number 4 is Superman 1978. This is a movie where I think the origin story for Superman was pretty much near perfection. Now, I don't think they did it in a way that if you weren't a fan of the comics, you would quite understand what was going on with the whole planet Krypton. But that doesn't really matter because if you're watching the movie, you're probably a fan of the comics. As I said, I think the origin story is done really well. The first half of this movie I think is really great. Christopher Reeve as Superman is probably my favorite out of these actors to play Superman, although Henry Cavill is really good. This really is just classic Superman. And his Clark Kent persona is also just really good. I think this has the best cast for the people at the Daily Planet. This is like the definitive Lois Lane, Perry White, and Jimmy Olsen. Now, the thing that kind of holds this movie back for me, I'm not a huge fan of the threat with Lex Luthor. Obviously, Gene Hackman is really fun to watch as Lex Luthor, but this is just a very classic Lex Luthor. There's no LexCorp, and his whole scheme just seems a little bit goofy, like something out of the 1960s Batman show. So I don't really fully buy into that part of the film. I still really respect this movie because it was really influential to this genre of superhero movies. This was the first time that they were able to have a big budget for a type of movie like this. Coming in at number 3 is Batman vs. Superman, and this, I think, is a pretty underrated movie. Now, I am more of a fan of Batman than Superman, and this movie is a Batman movie just as much as it is a Superman movie, so that probably helped it go up a little bit on my list. But I really do think this movie is well made, and I think Batman and Superman are both really compelling in this, and it's really neat what they do with the destroying buildings things, because that was always the joke that superheroes destroy buildings in the process of saving the world, and they actually kind of took that and made that the setup of the movie. I really don't think Lex Luthor is that bad in this movie either. I really do think he looks kind of weird. He just seems too young, and the haircut doesn't really work. Other than that, I think he fits the personality. He's always kind of been a psychopath. There's some things in here that are rushed. Not a flawless movie, but I do think it is really good and underappreciated. Coming in at number 2 is Superman 2. I think this is the peak of the Clark Kent persona for Superman, as well as the romance with Lois Lane. It's just a really neat type of movie where he wants to decide if he wants to be Superman or just be a normal person. Obviously, Lex Luthor plays a role in it, but the real threat is the Kryptonians. I think that's really neat what they did there. And this is really just the movie where you care for Superman as a character. But coming in at number 1 is Man of Steel. I think this is a really good modernization of the Superman origin story. It's told in a way that even if you had never heard anything about Superman before, you could understand what was going on in the movie. The acting here is really good, and while it is a little bit darker than some of the other movies on this list, I think it works very well. The storytelling is just amazing. It's really compelling. The music by Hans Zimmer is really catchy, actually. It's pretty good. So it's all around just very, very well made. Anyways, that was my ranking of the Superman movies. Again, if you want to share yours in the comments section below, that would be great. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.